From the Dallas Express, video captures Minneapolis rioters looting DHS vehicles, exposing agent info online. Agitators in Minneapolis continue to wreak havoc, now allegedly breaking into multiple ICE vehicles late Wednesday night, stealing guns, ammunition, and sensitive government documents, including arrest warrants and personal information on federal agents. The crimes captured on video and in live streams circulating across social media spotlight the continued destruction from violent rioters against federal law enforcement agents, specifically through the Twin Cities. Video clips posted by Nick Sorter from the scene show groups of agitators vandalizing unmarked cars allegedly belonging to immigration and customs enforcement officials, the Department of Homeland Security, and even possibly the FBI. In one act, rioters attached a tow rope to a weapons locker, in the trunk of the federal car and used a pickup truck to rip it open, stealing a rifle and ammunition. There are a lot of leftists that have gone to private in their X accounts after this happened. Tate, I'm interested in hearing what your take on this is. Do you think that this is justification for the Insurrection Act?
Yeah, I mean, Viva Frei was on the show today on the Noon Live, and he made an interesting point, which was, you know, he is obviously also saying, like, yeah, this is grounds for the Insurrection Act. There could be an argument that the left may be goading that sort of reaction out of the Trump administration so then they can say, oh, look how authoritarian it is. This sort of justifies this. Maybe this would swing over some weak Republicans into some sort of resolution to maybe try and strip away Insurrection Act powers from the GOP. But the point he made and the point that I was making, and we're both in agreement, is like, yeah, but this is the grounds for it, so I don't really care what the reaction is going to be. Let's just do it. Let's rip the Band-Aid. Because, like, the stuff we're seeing here, like, where they're literally like roping around the case and yanking out of the truck and that sort of stuff. We didn't even see that kind of stuff in 2020. Like, that is next level. Well, literally raiding an ICE vehicle. Like, that's a very unique thing where they're stealing weapons like it's GTA. There was actually
a dude in, I believe it was in Seattle, that grabbed a rifle from a police officer's car, and a security guy who actually like grabbed the rifle from him. He actually made a YouTube page for himself and called himself the weapon snatcher. But I do think, to your point, it doesn't really matter what the left says. It's time for the government to, for the federal government to move in and make sure that the ICE officials and the DHS officials can do their job.
Yeah, one question I have for the administration is, how do you fight against a party who wants to get shot, they want to get arrested, they want to cause chaos, and I think, to your point, they're causing chaos because politically it will work for them. It'll motivate their base to show up and vote for them. So even as a Republican Party, how do you fight against that?
And with local government officials that are egging them on, because Tim Walz was talking today how, we need to turn the rhetoric down, but just yesterday or over the weekend he was saying we're at war with the federal government.
I think you really want to establish threat of force, like credible threat of force. Trump sort of in his administration did that in Iran. They moved the aircraft carriers and they're like, we're not going to attack. Now they're like, we're considering the Insurrection Act. Tim Walz is like, okay, you're right. They broke into federal property and stole federal weapons. Tone it down, people, because that is legit Insurrection Act call. So don't do that. So that's promising.
Do you think that
Trump
he's being honest?
I think he's like, yeah, Trump can literally do it, and he has justification if you're taking federal weapons.
Well, and also the DOJ is apparently, according to reporting, sniffing around Tim Walz right now. So there's also a chance he received a tip, a note got slid across his desk, and he said, Oh, okay, yeah, okay, maybe guys stand down a little bit. Because literally yesterday, to your point, he went out on national television and said something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing a bit, but he said this part directly. He said, ICE agents are taking away your neighbors of color. So he's basically like portraying these ICE agents as if they're some sort of Gestapo.
And that's a lie.
That's a lie, for one. And two, it's like that's quite literally putting a target on these guys' back. And then the next day, all of a sudden, he's like come to his senses and he's like, guys, this has gone way too far. It's like, is anybody buying this?
No, it sounds like you got a call. That's a good point.
Right. Yeah. And you said it earlier, where are the people of color in these protests?
Yeah, literally.
I'm not seeing them exactly.
Yeah.
But I want to say this, too. So the D.C. mayor is like Tim Walz as well. Isn't it interesting she's not running again?
Oh, really?
I wonder what happened, because her police chief was caught cooking the numbers on the crime data. So maybe there's some dirt on Tim Walz where he's compromised now.
I think that's likely. And to be honest with you, I mean, this is something we talked about a little bit, but I think that it probably spans the whole Democrat Party. I mean, you've got essentially the entire left side of the aisle, whether you're a far leftist or someone that would be considered, fairly moderately left, if there are any of those in the Congress anymore, but they're all covering for illegal immigrants, right? They're all essentially, they're trying to convince people that illegal immigrants equals people of color, which is not true at all.
Yeah.
There are plenty of illegal immigrants from white countries. There are illegal immigrants from Europe, and it doesn't matter. It's not about color at all. But they're trying to make it out like that. And when it comes to all the fraud and stuff that you hear, there's a lot of the Democrat politicians that are doing their best to either cover it up, and I think it's because they're trying to cover up their own involvement, or at least the fact that they haven't used the powers of government to stop it or prevent it. And I think that there are some that actually are participating in it.
Yeah, Tate made it because you asked him the question. I think this administration should just go all in, just invoke it, get it over with, and just let's see what happens. Because if they do nothing, then what happens? I think they're just going to keep going, and innocent people will be hurt in the process as a result.
If Tim Walz hadn't said stand down, I would really lean towards that as well. But because of it, I'd like to see if people actually stand down, because someone mentioned earlier, I think you may have mentioned, DeVory, that they could be baiting them. I mean, a big part of the revolution
That is the whole point.
The Marxist, communist thing is they want the federal government to crack down with a fascist dictatorship so that they can be like, see, we told you, community rally, communism, let's, and it's like, come on, dude, just don't take the bait. Well, Tim Walz stood down. It had gone too far last night, but hopefully
that's in good trouble. Like use the reaction of your opponent is the actual target. Like that's what they're looking to do. That's why they have guys out there dressed up like Pikachu, or that's why they have, women with kids out there. They have women out in the front of the line, because what they want is they want to get a picture of you beating up of the police beating up a woman, or beating up a dude that's dressed up like like Pikachu or whatever, because then it makes the government look like they're overreacting and makes them look ridiculous.
Well, and the conservative right-wing argument against invoking the Insurrection Act as it stands right now is the Insurrection Act completely federalizes every sort of form of riot control in the state of Minnesota as soon as you invoke it. The right-wing conservative argument is, look, if we can just simply bend these blue state governors' arms with just the three-letter agencies, that sets the tone much more than the Insurrection Act. It's like the Insurrection Act, obviously, that's going to sort of disarm them, incapacitate them. But again, if you can manage to twist the arm of Tim Walz, which we saw today, with just using the three-letter agencies, there's something to be said about that. Actually might send even more of a message to these left-wing governors going forward. That's the debate raging on Riot, because it's really in vogue right now, obviously, to say, well, Insurrection Act, let's just mop this up. But I don't think and I'm not saying anybody's making this argument, but I don't think the Trump administration are idiots. I think Stephen Miller is actually keenly aware that, hey, if we can manage to just basically set up a trap right here without having to invoke the Insurrection Act, that's going to be much more politically expedient going forward than every single time there's a riot, every single time there's a protest, let's just chuck the Insurrection Act and get it over with.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, like, it does also leave the Insurrection Act as a card you can play, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have to go full on federalizing everything, and you can get the local governments to do what you want just by applying pressure, then you can save the Insurrection Act for if they don't respond or what have you.
It's interesting, because then what you're saying in that argument is that conservatives have to trust that the DOJ is going to get some results, and quite frankly, I don't think we believe that at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like the DOJ. There's a lot of question marks. You're seeing reporting that Bondi is just not on the same page with the Trump admin broadly. But yeah, I mean, that argument doesn't make sense, because it's something like, as conservatives, is we want nothing more, including myself, we want nothing more than to see Marines on the streets, because I think as a collective, we are a bit, this is like a gay word to use, but we're a bit traumatized from 2020. Like, that was actually such an egregious, embarrassing moment as a country that we just are paranoid of seeing that ever happen again, me included. So we just want to see the Marines go in just to send a message, just to get a bit of sort of vindication in a lot of ways. But then that's where the debate is, okay, what's more politically expedient for the next 3 years?
I think that's one of the reasons, or one of the best arguments for Donald Trump actually using the Insurrection Act, is to make sure that 2020 is not repeated. Yeah. Right. But there's a lot of people that are like, I don't want to see that again. I don't want to see, cities being burned. I don't want to see people out rioting like this, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of people that look at Donald Trump and think, well, he's not actually as strong as he talks. And it would take that kind of that kind of order from the administration to get people to be like, oh, well, I guess maybe he does have it in him. Because even I think, I'm not sure Donald Trump has it in him to do the stuff that's necessary to really put this stuff down. And I hope he does if it's necessary, but I'm not 100% sure.
It seems like with things in Iran, like heat being hot like they are in Venezuela, Trump doesn't have room to mess around domestically. So if there's a threat of one of our cities going under right now is not the time to mess with the federal security force, because we need diplomatic unity at home in order to preserve against international forces. A lot of countries will bullshit you and use that reasoning and be like, we must come together to fight but this is legit potential explosive threats that we can't tender a domestic pop. And Waltz knows that.
Well, yeah, you're describing like a very real political mechanism, which is every president, every politician has a limited amount of political capital that they can spend. And that's what you need to look at. You need to look at Trump's victories bank you political power that you can then spend in other places. Potentially, like we did in the last time, potentially on issues that are unpopular. And there are some issues that Trump loyalists want to push across the finish line that are unpopular with the majority of Americans. So that's where you spend that political capital. So the question is, if we're really expending political capital on Iran, you still need some left over to then quash these sorts of things in Minneapolis and these sorts of things.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.